Now, we've come off one of the most memorable football weekends of the season, although it didn't necessarily involve a very compelling race for the Premier League between Liverpool, Manchester City and Arsenal, which is utterly fascinating in its own right. All of them have a chance. They're all big clubs. But yesterday at Wembley, the Carabao Cup final between Chelsea and Liverpool was in some ways breathtaking. I was so sucked into it. I thought it was very, very exciting. And of course, Caoimhín Kelleher, one of our own, was really the man of the match, although they gave it to Virgil van Dijk, who scored the winning header. And there's nothing wrong with that, except that Kelleher, I thought yesterday, kept him in the game with 3 brilliant saves and a generally competent performance. It's a pleasure now to welcome John Giles, a great player, great coach, great judge of the game, and his own club, Leeds United, had a great win on Friday night when they beat the league leaders Leicester in a thrilling game that was settled late on. John, first of all, to Liverpool and Chelsea yesterday, we both admire Pochettino, the Chelsea coach. I know he looked devastated at the end. But what Liverpool did, with all their best players missing, all their goal scorers virtually missing, a lot of kids on the pitch in the end, seven of the academy players were on the pitch. I found it thrilling. Now, I know you're a much cooler dude, but what effect did it have on you?
It was brilliant, Eamon. It shows, from Liverpool's point of view, as we know, Jurgen Klopp has done a great job for them, Eamon.
Yes.
This is something behind the scenes that you don't see.
Yes.
Until it comes out on the pitch, especially in a match like that. It's such an important game, cup final. And it's back to I think, 9 years there?
Yep, more or less. Yeah, 9, right. 8.5 years, 9 seasons, I think.
9 seasons,
Yeah.
So obviously, if a manager's there long enough and they're doing the job properly, then you can get the young players coming through on the way that you want them to come through.
Yes.
And this is what he's done. Apart from winning with the big players that he's had over the years, this is maybe in the long run, maybe a bigger job,
yes,
bringing these kids through than the job he's already done. It's fantastic. And it shows you, giving a manager the time to do it, because not many managers get it now. I mean, you go back to Matt Busby originally, who started it. He had the time to do it. And but some managers have that time and they don't do it.
Yeah,
you have to give credit where credit's due, which I'm doing, which for Liverpool to do what they did yesterday, with the young players that they had, shows how good Klopp has been for Liverpool, both at the big end and the smaller end.
Yes, and I mean, one of the young men who've come in, Conor Bradley, he's from Tyrone. Sadly, his father passed away from Parkinson's. He's a fantastic young player, John, but there were a lot more that came in. Elliott is a very experienced Premier League player now, but he's only a kid. But then there was 4 or 5 I'd never heard of.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
And they were magic. Fella called Dan and a number of others.
Yeah, Bobby. I have names, few of them written down. Eamon.
Yeah,
Bobby Clark.
Yes, his father was a player. Yes,
Lewis Coombs. I've got about 10 of them written down here.
Yeah.
Obviously heard of Bradley and young Elliott.
Yes,
and young Kelleher.
Yes, he was great, wasn't he, John?
Already mentioned. He's a great lad.
Yeah, we're lucky to have him. Liverpool are lucky to have him, and when you consider that the other goalkeeper who's injured with a hamstring a pulled hamstring at the moment is Alisson of Brazil, probably the best goalkeeper in the world. Certainly, she's one of them.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
And he's had sitting on the bench year after year, but he's willing to do it. And then when he's called upon, he made a couple of great saves, didn't he?
Oh, he's brilliant. Kept him in the game in the first half, He's a smashing lad. You can see it obviously you can see it on the pitch. Never gets flustered, never gets onto his teammates, never makes a show of himself in any way. Just gets on with the job.
Yeah.
The only thing I'd say now, which would be a little bit of a minus, he's not getting as many games as he should be getting now.
Yes,
at his
totally.
age.
Yes.
Now, I'm sure he loves Liverpool and they look after him and that. But for goalkeepers, well, anybody, but goalkeepers in particular, I think, what is he now, 22, 23?
I think he's a bit older. I think it might be 24, yeah.
You know, like they need games.
You need work. You need games, yeah.
But he's done. Well, anyway, that's in the future. But what he did yesterday and what he has done for Liverpool when I've seen him has been brilliant.
Yes.
No fuss, no bother. Gets on with the job. Doesn't blame anybody. Just as some goalkeepers do. And he did it for Liverpool yesterday. Definitely at the time you mentioned there, Eamon.
Yeah. Now the question for Chelsea, John. Since this fella in the summer, Ted Bowley, spent £1 billion on players, brought in Pochettino, who we both respect. I think everyone in the game respects Pochettino, as much for his demeanour, which is always... But he looked like he was about to burst into tears at the end of the game, John. And when you looked on the pitch, Bowie bought an awful... I don't like to describe human beings as rubbish. He's bought an awful lot of rubbish.
Yeah, and now that they're not doing well, you don't see Mr. Bowley at all now.
No, we don't hear from him either. Yeah.
You know, like if they were winning, well, as we know in football, Eamon, it's not really the way to do it.
No.
You know, the manager has to be taken, given the responsibility of taking the players, because every manager has a vision of what they want, Eamon. We might have talked about this before.
Yeah.
And to fulfill that vision, if that's the right words, you have to get the players in that you want.
Yes.
And the visions from a lot of managers, like Matt Busby's was different to Stan Cullis. Nowadays, you know, the Manchester United coach has his own vision of what they want to do. Pochettino would have his own. But if you're not allowed, and to fulfill that vision, you have to get the players in that you want on the pitch.
Yes.
The vision is, I want somebody to do this, somebody to do that, somebody to do the other. And then you train them and you play the matches and get even better at what you're doing. But if somebody else is buying the players in, it's their vision.
Yes.
So that's no good to the manager like Pochettino now.
No. I'd probably sack him, John.
Bowley never played football. He's a great businessman. He's doing what he's doing, Eamon. But a lot of these great businessmen think they know a lot about football as well. And football, they say, is a simple game. Football's not a simple game. It's quite a complicated game. And you need people who are experts in the job to do what needs to be done.
Yeah.
Mr. Bowley is not an expert in the job. No. And he should leave it to Pochettino, who hasn't been given the job to get the players in that he wants.
Yeah, and he's ended up with, I mean, a lot of them were on the bench as they came on. A lot of them were on from the start. They're useless. And Klopp made a very revealing comment. One of the things Booley did in the summer was Liverpool were trying to buy a guy called Caicedo from Brighton as a midfield player. He's absolutely useless. But Liverpool had him for 100 million and Booley went in and gazumped Liverpool and they paid 115 million. And yesterday, uncharacteristically really, perhaps in the flush of victory, Jurgen Klopp said, we dodged a bullet there with Caicedo, which is... And one other thing, John, that the Liverpool victory reflected surely was the great spirit in the club. And fair play to Van Dijk. Both of us have been a little bit critical of him or doubted him a little bit. And he certainly is fond of himself. But he and the other senior players that were there, Andy Robertson would be a good example of that. There weren't many of them. The very fact that those young lads can come into the team, feel part of what they're about, be respected, speaks to a culture in Liverpool Football Club where everyone is respected and there's no big-time Charlies in the dressing room.
Well, it's run properly, Eamon. You know, like if you go back on the history of the game, you know, when Matt Busby did what he did, Alex Ferguson did what he did. You know, I was lucky enough. Well, I played for Matt Busby,
yes,
and Don Revie did what he had to do, all in different ways. But the main thing was that they knew the good players, the young players, treated them properly, coached them properly, and brought them in at the right time.
Yeah.
Now, in Ferguson's case, he did it in a big... Well, Matt Busby did before anybody else. He brought young boys in. You know, Ferguson did it at Old Trafford.
Yep.
Now, when he brought Beckham and Scholes and these lads in,
Giggs,
and because they were brought up in the right way. Eamon.
Yes, and Alan Hansen famously said when Ferguson brought those young lads in, the first game of the season was Aston Villa away. And on Match of the Day, they lost 3-1. And on Match of the Day afterwards, or maybe in the commentary, I'm not sure, Alan Hansen, who was a great player and a very good analyst of the game, said, "You win nothing with kids." And I was reminded of it yesterday when Liverpool threw 7 academy players on for the extra time, and they did win something with kids. So it was a very heartwarming occasion.
Yeah, it's great. It's great for Liverpool.
Yeah.
The only thing I saw in the paper this morning, again, I have to go to Gary Neville. He said he called it the £1 billion bottle job.
Yeah, he said that on the telly actually yesterday.
Yeah, well,
we're not great fans of Gary Neville. However, when he said it, I must say I chuckled. But I said a prayer to God last night to forgive me for liking Gary Neville's comment.
Well, Patricino gets on well with him.
He does, yeah.
But I mean, to make the comments that he made, it's totally outrageous. I mean, to be fair, Klopp has done a great job. He's been there for 9 years.
Yes.
Pochettino hasn't even been there for 2 seasons.
No, he's been there for 9 months.
Not even getting the players that he wants to get, you know. Yeah. So to throw it on him in that situation, I think is outrageous. But anyway.
Okay, now, a great day for Liverpool and for Merseyside, really, especially when they go to London. They don't like the national anthem. They don't like much about Londoners. And you can hear it.
Taking the cups home, Eamon.
Yeah. But now, to move on to the Premier League, John, and a contrast, really. We'll come to Arsenal in a moment, who've had a fantastic few weeks, and who you said, before anyone else publicly, that you thought they had a real chance of winning the Premier League. I wasn't quite going along with you, but what you said is being borne out by the results. Before we go there, Manchester United have a new owner now, or at least he's part owner. He owns 25% or thereabouts of the club, which he bought for a couple of billion. His name is Sir Jim Ratcliffe. He's a Mancunian, apparently, and he's one of the richest men in England. And Erik ten Hag is the coach. They got beat at home. I don't think you saw the game, but I saw it.
No, I didn't. No.
I saw it.
Yeah.
And it was humiliating. They were beaten by Fulham. Having been 1-0 down, United got an equaliser in the last few minutes. And then it was the 89th minute actually got the equaliser. But there was 9 minutes overtime. United were attacking the Stretford end. And of course, we've seen this movie so many times now that we could write the script. And it always ends with a United victory. But this time it didn't. Iwobi, on the counter-attack, scored a goal for Fulham, and Fulham are off home with 3 points. You were reading, though, John, and you talked to me about it at the weekend, some commentary or comments about what Sir Jim Ratcliffe was going to do. And this fella, David Brailsford, last time I heard of Sir David Brailsford, he was managing the English cycling team or the Sky cycling team or something like that in the Tour de France. Now he's a registered expert on everything, and he's coming in as well. Where does this leave Ten Hag, do you think? And you've got some evidence there, haven't you?
Well, yeah. I don't. It leaves him in a very, very poor position. I believe, Eamon, because in all the talk that we've heard in recent times about Brailsford and Gary O'Driscoll and Erik ten Hag hasn't been mentioned.
No.
And all the things that they're doing, if you look at it, Eamon, they haven't been mentioned. He hasn't been mentioned, and he's the present day manager.
Yeah.
Right. So I was just writing things down about him, like Sir Jim Ratcliffe. He's the part owner. Sir Dave Brailsford. They've got Gary O'Driscoll from Arsenal. Omar Baran Ryder from City, and Newcastle's Dan Ashford.
Oh yeah, they're looking for 20 million, Newcastle, for this guy. He's a headhunter, a footballer, a scout, really.
Well, yeah, that's really. Apparently, he's not on the Newcastle managers list.
No,
but he will lead recruitment.
Yes, this is Sir Jim Ratcliffe's. Yes.
Yeah. Now, recruitment in a football club is one of the most important things in the club.
Yeah.
And when Alex Ferguson was the manager, his recruitment man was his brother.
Yes.
So getting recruitment, the right recruitment in, is 90% of the job.
Yep.
Because all managers have a vision of what they want on the pitch. And to fulfill that vision, if that's the right word, you have to get the players in that you want.
Now, you read a little piece because they offered out to people what they're going to try and do. Can you read that for our listeners and for me? I enjoyed it the first time you read it to me over the phone.
So that's one of the things that they're talking about. You see, he said, and there's certain things I have to read. Dan Ansford will lead recruitment. All right. So Jim is on record saying the style of football going forward will be chosen by committee.
Yeah.
Right. From the outside, it looks like a lot of control is taken away from Ten Hag. Ratcliffe pointed to a better structure around the manager's role. He also said the style of play would be decided by a team of people.
Amazing.
And the manager followed their lead. Ten Hag insists he has been trying to play the Manchester United way since he took charge of the club in the summer of '72. He said, when I came in, it also got that direction. That is normal. In other words, he was told when he came in that it was normal to do what they wanted to do.
Yes.
Right? The club dictates the style, so you have to get an agreement about that. This is what he's saying. It is how I work now, so how we want to play, that is given by the leaders of the club. Right? They want to play dynamic, proactive, attacking football, which during my time here, I've always tried to do. Ten Hag also says he will not be dictated to over players he has to work with. So there's a contradiction there.
Yes.
I have talks with them about it. They will not bring in players the manager does not want because that will not work.
Right. So it's a mess before they start.
Yeah, like Ten Hag is actually contradicting himself. He's saying that's the way it was when I came in.
Yeah.
In other words, what he should be saying now, or start from the start, when I come in, I have to be in charge of the comings and goings of the playing situation.
Yeah.
Because that's how you become a good manager. You have the players in that you want, Damon, and you get rid of the players that you don't want. Now, what I'm reading there is he doesn't have that from the time he came in, and he certainly won't have it now.
Yeah.
You know, Mr. Ratcliffe, Sir Jim Ratcliffe is in charge of the situation. The 3 or 4 people he's got in, he's brought in, and the recruitment man is coming in from Newcastle that he's bringing in.
Yes.
So recruitment, Damon, I know I keep going on about it. Recruitment means getting the players in that you want.
Yeah.
And certainly getting rid of the players you don't want.
Yes.
In my opinion in football, it's 90% of the job. Because if you're the manager, you want the players in that you want. Because you have a vision of how you want that team to play and who you want on the pitch.
Yeah.
If somebody else is doing it,
you're snookered.
As manager, you're out.
Now, let me just, where you've read this, was a press conference they held, a press day, and you've got the paper in front of you there, and this was the message they were sending out, and it was effectively kind of bypassing the coach, the head coach, or the manager, whatever you want to call him now, these days. So Ten Hag is sitting there, he's listening to this, he's looking across the room, and he sees Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Maybe he gets him mixed up with Ted Booley. But anyway, he sees then Brailsford, whose expertise appears to be in cycling. Maybe that's underestimating. Maybe he knows everything about everything. But it looks like things are going to change at Manchester United. And the question, I suppose, listeners and Manchester United fans will want to know, will Eric Ten Hag be part of that change? And I have a feeling he won't be, John.
No, what I'm reading out there and what they're saying, Eamon, he's no chance of being in charge of it. They might put him out still as the coach, and say, this is the team, these are the players we're bringing in. Now you coach them.
Yeah.
You know, there's a big difference between being the coach, Eamon, and being in charge of the situation, and particularly the recruitment.
Well, now this is a question I want to ask you, because I think that's the same at a number of... even at Liverpool, did Jurgen Klopp buy Mo Salah? Did he buy some of those great players? I'm not sure he did. This is a new thing. There's a guy called Edwards at Liverpool at the time. He was the head of recruitment, and he was said to be brilliant at his job.
Yeah.
And just to take you back, John, when Leicester won the Premier League in 2016, they had all of these players, like Jamie Vardy, say, who'd been playing non-league football. And they'd all these journeyman players, really, who were brought in. And the guy who brought them in was Mickey Walsh, who used to play for Ireland, his brother. Now, they won the league, and Mickey Walsh's brother was hailed as a genius. Then he went to Everton, and they lost everything. They listened to him. He went off and bought the players, and Everton have been fighting relegation ever since. So
Cayman, can I just interrupt you there?
You can, certainly.
The Leicester situation, we don't know whether the coach at the time had the say in that. You know, he might have been recommending the players, and we don't know if the manager of that particular club did what he wanted to do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, you bring the Klopp situation is another matter altogether. I would doubt if he brought in all the players himself.
Yes.
Because I don't know whether he would have time to look at them.
Right.
But I would say that he would have final say on it.
Yes.
Because he would see certain amount of the players to do it. So there can be a situation where the recruitment man is good at seeing the players, but the manager has the last say in it. I don't know. We don't know what's the situation. But what we're seeing at Manchester United is what Ten Hag has now, or what he's coming into, will definitely have no say, in my opinion, in the recruitment.
Yeah. Now, the guy who, the coach, Claudio Ranieri, was the coach for when Leicester defied history and logic, won the 2016 Premier League, was quite remarkable, a remarkable achievement, but we don't know. The word went out, anyway, that it was Mickey Walsh's brother. Mickey played for Ireland. He was a good player, actually. He sent it forward.
I mean, can I just interrupt you? In my opinion in football, not what I know, but the recruitment guy will definitely come to the fore.
He will, yeah.
When things go well.
Exactly. Right.
But let's just go back in time a little bit. Now, Alex Ferguson is on the board now. Sir Alex is on the board. Now, there's no doubt, Eamon, when he was the manager, he was in charge of recruitment.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, his brother was
the chief scout.
The scout.
Yeah.
The chief scout. And there's no doubt Ferguson was in charge of that situation. Now, now maybe times have changed that much, but he's on the board now. I'd be surprised if he didn't say, because the new guy coming in is always on about Sir Alex. Quite right, he did a great job. Would he not ask Sir Alex, how did he do it?
Well, and he wouldn't be told what Sir Jim Ratcliffe proposes to do, would he?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But he's done it. You know, Ferguson has done it. There's no doubt whatsoever he was in charge of it, Eamon. And he brought the young players in, didn't he? And then he brought all the players and he won this. He won that. He's one of the best managers of all time.
Yeah.
There's no doubt he was in charge of it. Now, I think the game has changed a lot where you get these coaches in and the recruitments and all that. I don't think it's for the better. No. I think the old way is the best. If the manager is the manager and he's in charge of the team and results, he should be the one that's picking the players coming in.
Okay.
I certainly don't think that is going to be the way on the new boys coming in at Old Trafford.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt they could be heading for a massive car crash. So Jim Ratcliffe is also saying that they're going to rebuild the ground. It's become a dump, and it has. The Glaziers have let it go to rot. They're going to rebuild the stadium at the same time as they're going to shoot up the league and qualify for the Champions League. I want to talk to you about two things now, particularly, John.
So just before you go further there, for anybody coming into the game now, in that situation, especially Sir Jim Ratcliffe, have a look at Chelsea.
Yes, it's an object lesson. Disaster.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we'll see how things go. But the thing about billionaires, John, is billionaires don't listen to anyone. I've known a few of them. It doesn't matter. They, in their own mind, they've made their billions because they're smarter than everyone else.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
And they don't listen. I won't name names, but I've known a few. And their kind of eyes glaze over when you're talking. Even if you're talking about football, which is something I know something about, they're not really... they have their own take on it. And therefore, it's not good news for Manchester United fans in a certain way. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah. But you see, the thing is, I was really mentioning that. You see, everybody talks about football and they say it's a simple game.
Yeah, it's not.
Now, I know. Football is not a simple game.
No.
Actually, it's a very complicated game.
Yeah.
It's different to business altogether. So million ways, as you say, the man coming in now is a brilliant man. He's been a great businessman. But that doesn't mean he knows anything about football.
No, and we will watch that space with great interest. Given that you've informed us of what...
well, I'm only giving you my take on it. Eamon,
yeah, I know, but you've also given me what they've said in the newspaper you have in front of you there with all the names, including Brailsford, who's... we'll see. And now, let's move on, John.
Okay.
There's two things I want to ask you about. One of them I know is dearly close to your heart. Leeds United.
Oh, yeah.
On Friday night, playing a big match against Leicester. Leicester are top of the Championship. They look sure to go automatically into the Premier League after surprisingly dropping out of it, actually. And Leeds, with that win, John, 2-1 to 1-0 down. I watched the game on Friday night. You didn't think they were going to win it.
No.
I didn't think they were going to win it. Bang, bang. They won it.
Yeah. 3-1, Eamon.
3-1, was it? Yeah, I thought it was 2. I stopped watching when it was 2-1. I had to watch the Late Show.
but I must say, watching the game, Eamon.
Yeah.
I thought Leeds got away with it.
Right, yeah.
They won 3-1, but the chances that Leicester missed was incredible. It was one of those nights it certainly went their way, and they took advantage of it, and good luck to them.
Yeah.
But I think they've won 9 on the bounce.
Yes.
So they've got themselves in a great position. They're only 6 points, I think, behind Leicester.
They are 6 points behind Leicester, level with Ipswich, and 5 points in front of Southampton, who had been going well. And there was 36,900 at match, John. So the glory days might be about to return. All they're short of.
There's a good chance now, Eamon, as you saw. I mean, the Leeds supporters, they're the most fanatical I've seen, Eamon.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of young kids there.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant.
Going nuts, they're mad to get back to as much as they can to the old days, quite rightly as well. And the manager Farke is doing a terrific job with them.
Yeah, that's your legacy, John, and Billy Bremners and all the great players, Eddie Gray, Peter Lorimer, all the great players that there was there in your day. And of course, to Don Reevy, who was your manager in those days, he was called. I don't suppose Don Reevy would have taken very well to having Mr. Brailsford, Sir Brailsford, coming in and telling who to pick and who to buy.
Don did it.
I know.
And he was very lucky. I mean, I can't think of the chairman at the time.
Yeah.
And it was a new chairman. He was a Leeds United fanatic. But he let Don do what Don wanted to do.
Yes.
No doubt about that. He didn't interfere in any way whatsoever. And he gave Don, because Don didn't make a very good start, when he first took over as manager. Yeah. But he stuck by him, let him do what he needed to do. And then Don got the young players in and all that, and getting the players in he wanted, and did one of the big jobs in football. Yeah,
and interestingly, I want to move on to Arsenal. Interestingly, John, when Matt Busby took over in 1945, immediately after the war, they won the Cup, Manchester United, in 1948, captained by Johnny Carey, actually, an Irish legend, really, someone I know that you loved. And then, they didn't win the league until 1952. So there was no instant success at Manchester United, which Busby went on to build up to greatness. So it isn't necessarily quick. Nobody would get that amount of time, would they? I mean, that's 7 years before he won the league.
No, but we had a lot of success, Eamon, with the team. He, as you know, created the Busby Babes.
Oh, yes, yes.
So as soon as the Jackie Carey team got too old,
yes,
he put those young lads in straight away.
Yeah.
Straight away. And I believe at the time when he did what he did was very clever. Apparently, at that time, you could only sign 2 young players on.
Yes.
In the run of the clubs.
Yes.
And there's no doubt that he was definitely paying a few bob for Duncan Edwards and Bobby Charlton. Duncan Edwards was a Wolves nut.
Yes.
And Bobby Charlton was a Newcastle nut.
Yeah.
So, and they were 15. He got them at 15. But instead of having 2, he put only 2, Eamon. He put them on the ground staff. Yes.
So they didn't register as players.
So he didn't register as players. And that's where he created and got all those young fellas at that particular time, which was very clever, very brave to do what he did, because the 1949 team was or 48 team was a great team, but they got older.
Yes.
And that's what he did from there and created. But again, he was allowed to do it, Eamon.
Yeah. Now we've run way over time.
Okay.
No, but it's a pleasure because I'm sure it's a pleasure for Manchester United fans, for Liverpool fans, and I think it'll be a pleasure for Arsenal fans when you tell us. You told me about a month ago privately that you thought Arsenal were being underestimated. You then said to me, I think they're real contenders. And since you said that, which was before their spectacular results, they scored 15 goals and taken the points in every game. They scored 6, they scored 5, and against Newcastle, who are no pushovers, they scored 4 and they won 4-1 on Saturday night, John. And obviously that hasn't deterred you from thinking they're real contenders.
It's increased my view of that, Eamon. I think what's happened to them, it's not so long ago where people were writing them off in terms of going for the league, Eamon.
Yes, I was one of them. I just didn't think they had the bottle for it, to be honest.
I didn't, Eamon. I thought they did that. But I think that's taken the pressure off them.
Yes.
And pressure is like they've got a very young team.
Yes.
And pressure can be very, very difficult to handle for young lads coming into the team. And he's got a good few young lads coming into the team.
Yes.
So I think when it's they're out of it. Now you're in a different situation altogether.
Yeah.
Because they've got really good players. That's when that happens. It relaxes them.
Yes.
In other words, we don't have to win today.
Yeah.
Well, we're not supposed to be in it anyway.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's happened to them, Eamon. It's not a simple thing. It's a very, very difficult thing to go with the pressure.
Yes.
To win things. And they're a young team. So I think once people were writing them off, and a lot of people did write them off, myself included, they've played exceptionally well.
Yeah,
brilliantly, actually.
I think one of the keys matches might have been the home game against Liverpool a month ago. They beat Liverpool 3-1. I think it was, and I think they actually hammered Liverpool in the first half and could have scored more than the 3 they could have, and that may have been a turning point for them too, John, because they're playing a team that everyone rates, and they gave them a bit of a hiding. So now the way it stands at the top of the Premier League is Liverpool, Manchester City, Arsenal. They've all played 26 matches. Liverpool are 60 points, and the City are a point behind 59, and Arsenal are another point behind City at 58. So that's it. It's a 3-horse race.
Oh, it's a 3-horse. I thought it was a 2-horse race at that time when we were talking, Eamon.
Yeah.
And I think that gets through to the players. You know, the players are reading the paper saying, we're out of it, and they're not expecting anything. So pressure is huge in those games. You know.
Yeah.
And for it to be taken off them. Now what we've got to see is that now when they're back in the race again.
Yes.
they go with it.
Yep. Well, we'll see.
We'll see.
It's fascinating stuff, but they won't be sending for Sir Jim Brailsford or whatever his name is.
No, because they're being run properly. I mean, if you look at the teams now at the top, Liverpool definitely run properly. Man City run properly. And I think Arsenal now, and maybe have been, but now getting this new confidence into them will be a big race now. Okay,
John, it's great to talk to you every Monday, as we mostly do, although occasionally it's Tuesday because it's Monday Night Football, but the Monday Night Football tonight didn't inspire us. There's one game in the Premier League. We're very grateful to John Giles, one of the great judges of all time, one of the great players of all time as well. If you're young, I can't tell you how good he was. He wasn't much of a coach for me. Dropped me, messed me around. Didn't turn up for Ireland, which is why I got 23 caps. Anyway, we're grateful to John.